On this episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast, we talk about Kentucky by PANOPTICON. That's right, it's back. My favorite black metal band. Let's do it.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
We're two professional broadcasters. We really enjoy metal. We like to talk about it. We also enjoy ourselves a little bit of beer. We haven't talked about the beer lately.
We haven't a whole lot. I mean, today we're doing some Goose Island.
Goose Island Next Coast
Next
IPA.
Coast.
You've got West Coast IPAs. You've got East Coast IPAs. This is the Next Coast.
Yes, this is the Next Coast.
What is the Next Coast?
I don't know, but
Is
it's...
that the North Coast?
Maybe? I don't think so. I mean, it's got the colors on the label seem to indicate that it's something
Perhaps
tropical.
it is the South Coast, which would be
Maybe.
the Gulf Coast, really. That's the only southern coast there is.
Yeah. It's very IPA.
Yeah, I like it. It's got a goose, which makes me think of Untitled Goose Game.
Which I want to get, but that also means I got to buy one of them
Nintendo
Switches.
Switches.
Yeah.
I thought about, because when we got our Christmas bonus money, I was like, this would go a long way to getting a Nintendo Switch. And then I was thinking about it, and it's like, really the benefit of a Nintendo Switch is people who play games a lot.
Yeah.
And like you can take it wherever you want with you to play your games there. And it's like,
That's not you.
I feel like I don't play enough games anymore to really take advantage of that.
Because you become an adult and you have, like, adult things you must do.
Well, yeah, and I ignore them all the time and spend most of my free time looking at YouTube. So,
Of course.
like, it's just I want to play video games. It's just there's some sort of mental block that I have where it's like, I don't want to invest time in playing the video game. What if I want to do other stuff? And it's so I end up doing nothing.
Right.
Because I don't want to commit the time to one thing or another and then spend all the time I could have used doing that thing or the other thing, doing nothing at all.
You know, that's really been sort of a locking point in my entire life. Ow. Got a cramp. I'm fine.
Okay.
I was told as a child, hey, you can do anything.
Yeah.
And that kind of ruined it. I mean, that's sort of... And
If you can
interpret
do
that.
anything, why... If you can do everything, why do anything?
Yeah, exactly. So I ended up becoming a broadcaster.
Yeah, I suppose. What have you done? Have you done anything this week?
This week, both of my children, I have 5 children, both of my youngest children, I love all my kids.
No, it's just the two that matter, right?
I took them to Ulta and they got haircuts.
Ah, yes, because you can get haircuts at Ulta.
You can, and Maximus got, and when she was done with it, she had moosed it, she had layered it, and now he looks like the bass player from every heavy metal band from 1990.
Nice. So he look, kind of just the 90s metal look.
He's
a good
got
look.
that going. He looks like he should have a bass guitar and...
Get him a small bass guitar.
Yeah, he wants drums. He wants to learn,
okay.
but we've sort of made it a thing where he can't learn to play drums unless he learns to play
Piano?
the piano.
Okay.
And he doesn't want to do that, but we're saying
No
it's
child
easy.
does. No child ever, like, that was what, if you wanted to play the drums in band, in my elementary through high school,
It's
all
school.
the same building, you have to take piano lessons first.
Indeed.
So you have an understanding of music theory, I guess.
Indeed. And the piano's a percussion instrument.
Yeah, I suppose.
Technically.
It's
There's
a
a
percussion
thing hitting a
instrument.
thing.
Yeah, it's a. You could also think of it as a 200-some string guitar.
Sure. 88 string guitar.
It depends. There could be one that has like 200 strings in it. I don't know.
That's a very big piano.
It's a Mac Daddy grand piano.
Or as Davey 504 says, 88 string bass.
It's slap.
Yeah.
Drums. I don't know.
Sure. That's what he wants to do. He wants to be a percussionist.
He wants to play the drums. I can see Maximus is very high energy, and
Very high energy, yeah.
drums, I think, would be a very useful expenditure of that energy.
It would be.
A very loud and perhaps disruptive expenditure of that energy as far as practicing goes.
Which is fine.
Yeah. It's a possibility. I don't know.
Yeah, we can't watch TV because he's playing video games. So why not just have
trade
it so
it, yeah.
he'd be downstairs playing drums so we can't watch TV.
Exactly.
Let's just do
Everyone
it
in
that
the
way.
family just puts headphones on. You got a little Bluetooth thing plugged into the TV, and everyone puts the headphones on and blocks it all out. Right?
Did I tell you I saw my high school music teacher at a grocery store here recently?
No.
Yeah, Mrs. Domes, and she looked at me.
What's up, Mrs. Domes?
Mrs. D. Her name is Virginia Domes, VD. So every time I was late for school, she had to sign it VD, and then I'd snicker. VD. But it was cool because she looked at me and she was like I should know you. And
you look so familiar.
You look so. I said, do you still teach music? She said, yes. I said, I was your band student 30 years ago.
Oh. I mean, do you think she would have recognized you if you didn't have the beard?
Maybe, or if I was 70 pounds lighter, like like I was then.
It's possible. I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't know. Who knows? Somebody knows. I don't know. That's for dang sure.
Yeah.
We both watched a documentary.
We did.
An extremely heartbreaking documentary called One Child Nation, which is about the one-child policy in China from the 70s through to 2015, and just the frankly devastating and heartbreaking effects that it had on everyone across the whole country. Pretty much. And it's directed and narrated by a Chinese woman, grew up in China. She moved to the United States a few years ago, had a child of her own, and went back to visit her family and decided to make a documentary about the one-child policy.
Indeed.
And there was a part about, without spoiling anything, not that it's really spoilers for a important historical event, but I guess if you're going into this documentary for an experience, I won't spoil that for you. Not that it would lessen the effect, but there was a part where my jaw just hung open for about 2 minutes.
Oh, there's a couple of places in there for that.
It's stuff that intellectually I had heard about, but I never quite knew the horrifying extent of things that happened. I highly recommend people go watch this. It's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
It's gonna hurt, but
it's
an important thing I think to learn about.
Yellow plastic bags just haunts my dreams.
God, yeah, it's we brought the energy down.
We've taken it to a crash.
We've taken it to a crash here. I watched a movie that I've been meaning to watch for a while, a dramatic film. I think on the same night, because I needed a bit of a pick me up. Didn't find one, and not in this movie anyway. I watched The Lighthouse.
Oh, sure.
Directed by Robert Eggers, written by his brother Max.
Starring two people.
Starring two amazing actors. There are two other actors in the film that play characters that aren't actually there.
Sure.
Willem Dafoe opposite Robert Pattinson, and both of them turn in amazing performances. I have not seen some of the other like I don't know who else got nominated for Best Actor and for Best Supporting Actor
but it wasn't Willem Dafoe.
But it wasn't Willem Dafoe, and it wasn't Robert Pattinson,
which is weird
for Best Supporting and Best Lead, which I think is frankly a shame. Both of them put in absolute powerhouse performances in this incredibly weird fucking movie. If you've not seen any trailers for The Lighthouse, if you're wondering what it's about, two men are stationed at a remote lighthouse on an island.
It's in black and white.
Somewhere, yeah, it's in black and white, filmed in even narrower than 4:3. It was the pre 4:3, I think, was the aspect ratio.
It's 1:1.
Not quite. It's
not square.
Yeah, it's not quite square. It is the aspect ratio that they used only for a few years when movies were making the transition between silent films and sound films and talkies.
Yeah.
There was a specific aspect ratio. The numbers aren't coming to mind. Yeah, so every shot is very tight and very narrow, and there's a lot of close-ups, and it's, it all takes place on this small island and mostly inside the lighthouse or the foghorn
Leghorn.
Inside foghorn leghorn. That's somebody's fetish.
I'll say.
Oh God.
Get out of there, boy.
But oh no, the steam engine for the foghorn, essentially.
Yeah.
Because it takes place in, I think, 1895 or something like that. And so, in order to power the foghorns, you would need to shovel coal into a steam engine and keep everything running.
And then it has to be ready to go at all times.
Well, fairly ready to go at the very least. It's like, suddenly it's a foggy day. Go out and shovel some coal into the foghorn.
Right.
It's two men that are trapped by a storm on this island. They're only supposed to be there for a month and end up getting trapped there for a while, and they both lose their fucking minds. Although I'm not really sure if either of them were particularly sane to begin with, but there's copious amounts of alcohol involved.
Sure.
And things get really, really, really weird.
They're trapped, copious amounts of alcohol, they go insane. I relate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope not. Considering how the movie ends.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen it, so
I'm not going to spoil anything. Not well.
Not well.
The answer is not well.
Who eats who?
I won't say anything.
Okay.
At the very least, it is. If you are a fan of like weird avant-garde type movies, or psychological thrillers, I think especially if you're a fan of David Lynch, definitely go watch The Lighthouse. I have been meaning for years to watch Robert Eggers' previous film, The Witch, which is typically spelled with two V's instead of a W.
The Vitch.
The Vavitch. I've been meaning to watch that for a long time, and I haven't gotten around to it. But I think after watching The Lighthouse, I would love to see what his movies are like with a more traditional aspect ratio. I watched another movie last year called Ghost Story, or A Ghost Story, I think, which was it's Rooney Mara. I think maybe it was Kate Mara. It's one of the Maras, and Casey Affleck. And
the
whole movie, he's a ghost in a white sheet.
Yeah, I heard that was a great movie.
It's really good. It's incredibly sad, but that's all filmed in 4:3. And I have not seen very many modern movies that are filmed that way, because it's most of the time it's like, why would you film in that aspect ratio? The shots are so small. Everybody's got widescreen TVs. It's like it's very intimate when you have such a narrow aspect ratio. Everything has to be so close up to whatever subject you're shooting.
Like if they were shooting an 8.5 by 11.
There we go. A movie that can fit on your printer paper.
Yeah. I'm going to print this movie out. How many pieces of paper would that need?
Well, 24 frames a second for an hour and a half. You figure it out.
That's a shitload of paper.
That's a lot of paper.
Yeah.
I did a spit take in my own house over lunch and felt like my head nearly exploded.
Because you don't know how to drink water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been almost 24 years. I still haven't figured out how to properly drink water.
And it's one of those skills you're never going to learn.
Yeah, apparently. If I haven't learned it yet, and apparently most people don't because they still fuck it up constantly. Like, you'd think not that it's, I guess, imperative to survival, but you'd think we would have a better method for like, oh, there is liquid. Let me close off the breathy parts.
Yeah. What? It would be more normal if we were made like the dolphin. If we just had a blowhole, we breathe that up.
Yeah, there we go.
It was under our hair.
It's just not. It's not connected to
the mouth at all.
Mouth and the esophagus at all. It's its own thing. Or if we only breathe through our noses, but that would probably
be terrible.
Yeah, you'd be vulnerable. Oh, I guess
get a cold and you're dead.
Yeah. One of the other things that I did is I went and got a humidifier for my room because the other night it was so dry in my apartment that I woke up at about 5 in the morning and it hurt to breathe through my nose.
Sure.
Because the just all the membranes in my nasal passage were so fucking dry. I felt like I was about to have a nosebleed. So I put my pillow up to my face so my breath would at least provide some humidity. God, it's so dry. So yeah, I got a humidifier, turned it on before I went to bed last night, and I slept like a fucking baby.
Nice. You woke up every 5 minutes because you pissed yourself.
Yeah. Yes. And I, was screaming.
Sure.
I was screaming because I shit myself, and then I was
the
screaming because I was hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
all because of the humidifier.
Slept like a baby is a really bad term.
It is.
Baby,
it is.
Yeah.
That definitely coined by someone who didn't have any kids ever.
I suppose. I slept like a baby that was sleeping well.
I slept like a dead baby.
Oh God, no! I slept like a baby.
Yeah.
At a time when the baby is not supposed to be sleeping.
Sure.
I slept.
You slept like a baby at daytime.
Yeah. When the parents would rather the baby stay awake. So
we've all been through that. Well, I've been through that.
Yeah, I haven't been through that.
You just wait. Someday.
I have
some kids of your own.
I have two nephews. I've watched it. I haven't had to, experience it or be responsible for it, but I've observed it. So I'm just like 20% qualified.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
to comment on that.
Eventually, when you have kids, because someday you'll have a couple of regrets running around.
Shut up, that fucking John Mulaney's
this on fire garbage can
could be a kid's room. John Mulaney's real estate agent.
Has that fun mom energy, but yeah. Eventually, you're driving home from somewhere that's slightly out of town, and you see your kids start to go to sleep, and it's 5:30. So you're going, hey,
wake up,
wake up.
Don't make me crank Slayer.
Of course, that's
just going to put him to sleep.
That's what I've used to do to put myself to sleep.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. But at any rate, I slept well last night.
Okay.
I still had to get up at 5 to pee, but I always have to do that.
Sure.
So. But I slept really well last night. I think the nice thing about the humidifier is it also provides a bit of a white noise thing.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't really tried that, like finding like white noise playlists or whatever to play on my phone.
Yeah.
At night, I haven't really tried that before. I think maybe I should.
Mm-hmm.
I've always had a lot of trouble sleeping.
Yeah, me too.
I've never been I've never really had insomnia, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a lot of trouble getting to sleep often. Although once I do, I usually stay asleep fairly well.
Mm-hmm.
But I've often had a lot of trouble falling asleep. It's gotten better as I've gotten older. And
it will improve. And eventually you get to the point where you'll be driving the car and your kids will be in the back seat going, hey,
wake up.
Wake up.
Wake up.
Daddy.
Don't fall asleep.
You find out what those bumps on the side of the road are for.
Them rumble strips.
What?
I guess if we want to follow up on our adventure last week, I decided not to when we were out on our adventure, what we should have done is also go to Walmart or Menards or wherever. I think Menards probably would have been closed. I don't know when Menards closes.
They close at like 9 or 10 o'clock. It's late.
Yeah, they would have been open then.
Mm-hmm.
But we should have gone to go get extension cables so I could plug my car in.
That would have been helpful.
Didn't do that. So then the next morning I got up early to try and start my car just to see if it would run. Nope.
Not at all.
So I had to go get you again to jumpstart it so I could go buy cables to plug it in and keep the block heater going.
Now, you haven't had any problem with the battery since. I mean, it's been fine?
No. The other day, I had neglected to start it a while, but it had been quite a bit warmer.
Mm-hmm.
It made noises that made me uncomfortable for about... It only did that for about like half a second to a second. It was just the first couple, and then it was like, oh, I'm awake. Let's go. But since then, it's been working fine. Although it's been much warmer. We're in 20s and 30s this week.
I know. We're in the thaw.
We pendulumed so hard.
Yep.
Last week was so incredibly cold, and then this week has been temperate, has been positively tropical by comparison.
Right, I had to open the window in the booth today because I had swits.
I had the swits. Well, I was doing that last week too because it's so fucking warm all the time in the WGO studio.
Right. It used to be warmer, and it was my suggestion to get those blinds that block out more sunlight because you had that runaway greenhouse effect going on in there.
And we've got sensitive electronic equipment.
Yeah.
So that would make sense. But yeah, it's always so warm in those studios. But
did I shut the window?
I don't know.
I might not have shut the window.
We're very close by.
I'm not going over there. If it's open tomorrow morning, I don't care.
You don't care, but
oh no! Now I put a bee in your bonnet. No,
yeah,
you're not going to go over.
It's going to bother me if I know it might be open. Don't make me go. When you leave, go just check. Just pop by and check.
Okay.
You're not going to do it.
No,
you
sure.
can't bring this sort of shit up to me.
Are you slightly OCD? Is that what the deal is?
I think it's more of an anxiety thing than any sort of obsessive compulsive disorder because, I mean, not that it always manifests as having to clean everything, but that happens for a lot of people. I have a friend who is diagnosed with OCD, and he's an extremely cleanly person. But I'm not a very cleanly person.
No, I've seen your apartment.
But I'm not super my apartment isn't super gross or anything. The kitchen always needs cleaning, but everything else is I keep, and I need to dust, I suppose, but I don't have shit and garbage laying everywhere.
See, I did. I was a garbage hoarder. That was terrible.
The thing I usually leave sitting out the most is laundry. I'll leave it sitting on the floor because the hamper is full.
Sure.
Of the rest of the clean clothes.
Oh, the clean clothes that you haven't hung up.
Yeah, that I haven't bothered to fold up and put away. And so because those are in there, I can't put the dirty ones on top of them. So the dirty ones go on the floor.
Can't you just pour the clean ones onto your bed, and then that sort of forces you to, I can't go to bed until I put all this shit away.
I do that every once in a while. Yeah. I'm going to probably do that once we're done recording because I did laundry today. So I will probably have to do that later on today. Anyhow, PANOPTICON. So if you didn't listen to our episode last year in, I think, April, I believe.
Yes.
We were having a lovely warm spell that I could walk around the parks and whatnot and enjoy. PANOPTICON is an American, distinctly American folk black metal band. Written and recorded all by one guy. His name is Austin Lunn. He was born in Memphis, raised in Kentucky, moved to Minnesota. In more recent years, he moved to Minnesota.
And opened up a brewery.
Yes, opened up a brewery with his brother-in-law. And that's actually where they are going to be having a listening party for a new split LP that's coming out.
Sweet.
I imagine it's coming out on February 1st or
early
in February. I mean, it is only in Minneapolis.
Sure. 10-hour drive?
Yeah, what's a 10-hour drive? We're Midwesterners.
Exactly.
What's a 10-hour drive?
That's a trip to the corner for milk.
That's fucking nothing.
No.
But yeah, they're having a listening party at Hammerheart Brew Company in Minnesota. I can't remember what town it is, but it's kind of.
Isn't it in St. Paul?
It's north. I think it's north of St. Paul.
North of St. Paul.
North of the Twin Cities, at the very least, by probably 20 miles or something. It's very close by to the Twin Cities. But he is a multi-instrumentalist and writes and records all of the material himself. All of his music, the breadth of his discography is marked by a couple of things. Number one is his proclivity for mixing Americana and bluegrass and just American folk music in general with black metal, which is, at least when the band was first started back in 2008, or when the project was first started back in 2008, that was not the sort of thing that was really going on.
No.
It's something that has...
Is it a thing that's really happening now?
I don't know if you could really say that it has spread all that much.
Not like this.
But I think the idea of mixing American folk music with different forms of metal has caught on a little bit more. It's something that's not quite as novel as it was in 2008. And I think like American black metal bands have kind of come into their own in the last decade or so.
And he's sort of the guy who created this.
Yeah, or at least one of them. He's one of the big one of the big figures, especially when it comes to this type of music coming from the southeast part of the country. There's a lot of people from like the from the Pacific Northwest, or what do they call it in New York, in New England, the upper part of the Appalachians? Is that the Cascades? No, that's in Washington.
Yeah, I
don't remember what they call it. But anyway, in the the New England sort of Maine type area, like the last episode that I brought one with Falls of Raros, they're from Maine.
Yes,
he's kind of the leading sort of figure as far as music from the Southeast goes.
As far as black metal from the Southeast.
Yeah. No, just all music in general from the Southeast. Doesn't matter, irrespective of genre.
Sure.
He is...
he's heavily influenced Outkast.
Yes. in particular.
Yeah.
Which would be weird because he would have been a fairly young man at the time. But
very young, yeah.
Anyway.
Well, he's my age, isn't he?
Austin?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No?
I think he's probably in his 30s or something.
In his 30s?
I don't think he's in his 40s. It doesn't look like he's in his 40s anyway. I mean, he's got that big blonde beard, so it can be hard to tell. But
he doesn't look as haggard as you do, OJ.
Oh, and he's got a couple of kids too. But I think he's still a younger guy. I think. He's also a fairly private sort of guy, so I'm not sure if that information is even available. At any rate, yeah, his music is one of his hallmarks is always bluegrass. Hearing banjo and upright bass and fiddle and all that sort of stuff it's present on most of his work. On Kentucky, it's maybe the most prevalent, unless you compare it to like Scars of Man Part 2, which is an album of just his bluegrass and folk music.
Right. But it wouldn't be a black metal album.
Yeah. I mean, it's the second part of a black metal album.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's... I'm running out of steam. I'll be okay.
Are you all right?
I don't know.
Did you eat dinner?
Yes, I ate dinner.
What did you have?
I had a bowl of cereal and some yogurt.
Well, that's fine.
Anyway, the other hallmark of his music seems to have always been his great love for nature. He is, by any description I've ever heard, an avid outdoorsman. He loves to hike. He likes hunting. Like he's an avid outdoorsman and sort of like conservationist and environmentalist, you would say. And he brings a lot of that to this album. This is about his home state. This is about where he grew up.
Yeah,
and
coal mining.
if you know anything about the history of coal mining in Appalachia, it's it ain't been good.
Right.
It hasn't been a pleasant history.
Like the whole history has been unpleasant.
Yeah, it's made certain people a lot of money. None of those people were the ones digging it out of the ground.
Nope.
And this is a lot of it. It takes some inspiration and uses samples from the documentary that came out in 1975, I want to say, called Harlan County, USA, which was about a strike that happened in the eponymous Harlan County in Kentucky. And the strike ended up getting very violent. Yeah. One of the more violent strikes in Kentucky coal mining that had happened since a previous event in the 30s in Harlan County that erupted into several violent gunfights between mine workers and mine security and police officers. And there is a song featured on this album that is a cover of an old folk song called "Which Side Are You On?" Yeah. That was written during that conflict.
Very catchy song.
Extremely catchy. That's one of the straight sort of bluegrass cuts on the album. There's a couple of them, and I'm bubbly.
You're bubbly. Why are you so bubbly?
I got bubble guts.
What kind of cereal did you have that made you bubbly?
It's like a Chex knockoff.
Oh, a Chex knockoff. And was it like an Activia yogurt, or was it a?
It was a Yoplait.
It was a Yoplait.
Yeah, or Yoplait. I'm eating my Yoplait.
Yoplait. Don't eat on my plate. Eat on your plate.
Yes, exactly. Anyway, my weird inability to burp right now aside.
Yeah. Maybe guzzle some beer.
I don't know if that would actually help. Anyway, so it won the Academy Award for Best Documentary when it came out, and was there were a couple of people involved in the strike at the time who ended up being assassinated by officials working for the mining company. Police were brought in. I think the National Guard might have been brought in at some point. The strike was eventually successful, I might add. And that's an important piece of that history, is that they actually managed to win that one. That hasn't happened very often. But I think he mentioned in an interview, because he doesn't do very many interviews. He mentioned in an interview that I was reading about how he was going on a hike with his wife, and like he wasn't planning on writing this album. Right. He was probably planning on coming out with some music that year because he'd been very prolific up until that point. This is Panopticon's fifth full-length album.
Right, and they began the project in 2008. This is from 2012.
Yeah. So he was a very prolific, songwriter and player and recorder. But he was just on a hike and was like, I know what I'm going to write. Just like he figured it out. And spent, a couple of weeks just completely engrossed in writing and recording the record. And when it came out, this was kind of the project's big break. Like, there were a fair amount of people who are into this sort of thing that were big Panopticon fans. It wasn't really until Kentucky came out that suddenly he was getting a lot of attention from people that weren't that one dude who saw you play at the bar, basically. Sure. Getting attention from, Sputnik, and getting attention from Pitchfork and places like that. I don't think the reception for this album was pretty big, and it's well regarded, but it's probably not as well regarded as Autumn Eternal, which I think that one is still my favorite Panopticon album.
That's the one we did last year.
Yeah, we did Autumn Eternal. That one is still my favorite, but this one kind of set up what would later be, the resounding success with Autumn Eternal. It's just it has a lot of it's Panopticon. It has all the same things that I have already enjoyed about the music that Austin makes. It's in a slightly more prototypical form. I think this is a sort of sound that he's continued to work on and develop for a long time. It just keeps on getting better and changing slightly, and keeps on getting a little bit tighter release by release. And this album is fairly tight. It's fairly well put together. There are some parts I feel like when I listen to it that I go like, that was sort of a weird choice. Like there's a older gentleman in a sample from Harlan County, USA, that is talking about having been a part of strikes as a young man.
Went from 6 cents to 8 cents.
And he kind of gets cut off halfway through by the electric guitars starting up, and he's so low in the mix that you can't understand the entire last half of his quote.
Right.
I actually started watching Harlan County, USA, because you can watch it on YouTube, actually.
Really?
Someone ripped it out of the Criterion Collection and put it on YouTube. But they had that guy who was talking. He was like, oh, that's what the last half of what he was saying was. Because the clip continues under the guitar. It's just kind of buried.
Sure.
And there are a couple production moments that I felt, this album, I think at this point could use a remix. I think the mix is one of the biggest problems I have with it. And even then, it's not like a big glaring issue because it's still PANOPTICON, and
sure.
I'm a sucker for this type of music. So do you think this album slaps?
When it slaps, it slaps. And then there are times where I don't think it has the slap, but
yeah.
So it's
when it means to, it does.
Yeah, it has such a varied tone through the whole thing.
And I think if we want to compare it to Falls of Rauros, I think Falls of Rauros is, I guess to sound Australian for a moment, a bit more full on. They definitely have their quiet moments and their more tender, more slow moments, especially on I almost called it Weapons of Refusal because that was my favorite song off of it. On Patterns in Mythology, it definitely has its slow moments, but I think in general their work is has more metal to it.
Sure.
Than any given PANOPTICON album, where there are a lot of tracks that are just bluegrass or just ambient pieces or just transitional pieces from one track to another that are a bit more fleshed out than just 50 seconds of like ambient music to lead into the next one.
Right.
It's it's a 3-minute song instead of just a short little interlude.
Right, like the song Black Water.
Yeah. That's mostly just it's mostly just banjo and guitar and singing,
and it all it has so much reverb on it. It's like
yes,
yeah,
it's like he's playing it down in a coal mine.
Yeah,
basically. And then the last song on the album too is just
bluegrass.
It's sad. It's fucking sad bluegrass too. It's not happy, sort of barn slapping, fun, yeehaw bluegrass. That's the track that opens the album. Is sort of a classic kind of, feet stomping tune.
Sure.
That ends, and before you even have time to soak up like the last reverberations of the last note on the opening track, then suddenly it's Austin fucking roars in, and the guitars just there's this bombastic drum riff, and the guitars just blast in, and then the exit of the album is just this very somber, very subdued bluegrass piece. There's another. I'm trying to remember which song it's on. I think it might be tail end of. I gotta look at the song titles here. Give me a moment.
Blood and what is it?
Yeah, I think it might be tail end of Black Soot and Red Blood.
Black Soot and Red Blood. Yeah.
Where there is, I believe, a sample of what I assume is Austin talking about how there was like a stream that he would go to nearby where his cousins lived in Kentucky that he would go and fish at, and he had been away from their place for a while and came back, and it was basically just ruined by runoff from a coal mine. It was just, disgusting. All the fish were dead. And that's something that, matters a lot to him. He is, I think in many ways an environmentalist. There are a lot of people who enjoy nature who wouldn't describe themselves as an environmentalist. But I think that, Austin could probably be described as one. And Kentucky coal mining is in a lot of ways one of the most destructive.
Sure.
Like we think about coal mine, like we have strip mines in North Dakota, but when they're done, and really they're digging up flat ground, basically. Not that nothing.
Not that we have anything other than flat ground in North Dakota.
And also to say not that nothing lives on that ground that needs that habitat.
Right.
But they aren't cutting the tops off of mountains. They aren't blowing mountains in half looking for coal seams and digging hundreds of feet underground and putting a whole bunch of people's lives in danger in these deep ass mines. People aren't getting black lung at North Dakota coal mines.
No.
And when they're done with a piece of land, there are very clear land reclamation rules for North Dakota coal mines. They put all the dirt back. I think they seed the grass. And I grew up next to one of if not the largest coal mine in the state.
Right.
And I've seen what the reclaimed land looks like, at least under the modern practice. In the old one, there's a couple places you can go by Underwood, and you go past by Garrison, that you see what it looks like when they would just leave it.
Hey, is that thing gone now? I heard it was gone now.
The drag line?
Yeah.
No, it's still there.
Because I was told that they were removing it.
I don't know.
The one that goes over the highway.
Oh, you're talking about the track.
The track line.
The cart track or whatever. Yeah, that's gone.
Wow.
It's weird to me because that's been there my whole life.
Right.
For those of you who have no idea what we're talking about because you're not from central North Dakota, there was a, I guess, conveyor belt probably is the term for it.
Sure.
Going from the Falkirk mine, which is a mine between my hometown of Washburn and the next town north of Washburn called Underwood. That it's a big coal mine, and it's also across from the Great River Energy power plant.
Sure.
When the coal mine was directly across from Great River Energy, they could just load the coal onto the conveyor and take it straight to the power plant.
But they haven't used that for 30 years.
Yeah, they haven't used that. I don't think they hardly used it at all when it was built.
Right.
Because the mine moved on and has moved around. I thought you were talking about the drag line, and I was like, I don't know where they're going to take that thing because that's the size of several buildings.
Yeah.
There is
it's huge,
absolutely massive drag line that operates that mine. And yeah, it is massive. And I have no idea, like, when they're done, what are they going to do with it?
I don't know.
It's
Dismantle
probably
it for parts?
Probably. It's paid. I imagine it's paid for itself several times over at this point. So It's not like, I doubt they'd be losing money if they had to take it apart.
Maybe somebody could use it as an RV.
That would be cool. It'd be an extremely slow one, but that would be cool. I don't know how that thing runs either. Imagine, is it just giant diesel engine or what?
Maybe jet coal. That would be funny.
Could be. Yeah, that would be weird.
It's coal-fired. Like the foghorn.
Yeah. Well, I know there's we're getting way off topic here, but
yeah.
There is a massive bucket wheel excavator in Germany called Bagger 288.
Yeah, I've seen that.
It was at one point the largest moving land vehicle in the world. That thing is mostly, I think it's actually electric. It has gigantic cables that I believe feed from the power plant that it is mining coal to, fire, essentially.
Sure.
Or something like that. It's a ridiculously large vehicle. In any case, we were talking about Kentucky coal mining,
right?
Which is not that. Kentucky is deep coal mining. You're going deep under the earth to extract that coal, and it's got to be done by men. It's not someone in a giant, huge ass vehicle.
They have actually automated a lot of it in the in the years,
and there's been a lot of technological strides taken, I think, to make things a lot safer. But that doesn't mean, like, I remember growing up, there was all those miners that got trapped in Pennsylvania.
Sure.
I think
just kids.
That sort of shit.
What?
Miners, kids. Funny.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But they got trapped in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. I think it was Pennsylvania anyway. Like, that sort of stuff still happens. It's such a...
But there's not as many miners on duty as there used to be.
Yeah. And I wonder how much longer that's going to be profitable. I just don't know.
Yeah.
And, coal industry is getting smaller and smaller and...
smaller and smaller.
But I just, especially like that dangerous style of mining, I would never in a million years be able to do that. I'm not claustrophobic, but being that far underground, I think would bother me.
I'm a bit claustrophobic. The thought of being in a small box gives me severe panic attacks.
And your dad was a pilot too, so like, I don't. Does being like in an airplane bother you, like small airplane?
Oddly, that does not. I probably shouldn't say this, but I've piloted that small airplane many times.
No one can prove that.
No one can prove that I'm telling the truth right now. And there's plenty of times where Dad was, I ain't making it. Just follow this signal.
And hey, look, you could always wake him up.
Yeah, worst comes to worst.
Dad, we're about to crash into a mountain.
Weird, because we were in Kansas a moment ago.
You've been asleep a long time. How'd this Cessna get all the way over here?
Holy shit, we're in Spain.
Did you ever get like signals from air traffic control towers or anything like that while your dad was asleep?
No. I mean, no, that never happened. I mean, you get close enough and you talk to them.
Okay.
You tell them you're coming in.
Yeah, because boy, that would be awkward. Just like
please identify yourself. This is Grumman 1616 Romeo. We are. I don't know what the fuck we're doing. I'm 15.
My dad's asleep. Is he okay? Did he have a heart attack? No, he's just tired.
Yeah, we've been flying for a long fucking time.
Well, please just wake him up. Okay.
Dad!
Dad! Hey, Dad! Oh, boy.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I could not be a minor.
Yeah, no.
I wouldn't be able to do that.
No.
It would scare me.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be spooky.
It would be.
Spooky.
Going down in the cave.
So I was trying to find scores for this album. There's not actually a lot of reviews of it that bothered to give it a score.
Mm-hmm.
The only one I could find was Sputnik, and they gave it a 3
out of 5.
A 3 out of 5, which is positive, but not quite as warm as the written reviews given to it by like the AV Club and Invisible Oranges and places like that did long blog posts and write-ups, but did not give it any sort of numbered rating, and I couldn't find any Metacritic for it.
I always think it's so weird that one of the best places to find honest to goodness reviews of shit is from The Onion.
Yeah. It's The Onion's more serious brother.
Right, the AV Club.
Yeah, he wasn't the class clown. They were twins, and one of them was the class clown, and
he
then
dropped
the other
on his
one,
head.
The other one was super serious and took school seriously and went to journalism college, while the other one just got a general creative writing degree.
Holy shit, man walks on fucking moon. That's the best.
That's like one of their originals, isn't
That's
it?
from Our Dumb Century. They made a book. It was all the Onion newspaper articles from the 20th century. And that was one of them.
Holy shit, man walks on fucking
holy
moon.
living fuck, Neil Armstrong's historic first words.
Holy shit, I got such a raging boner right now.
Jesus Christ and a chicken basket. Holy living fuck, I'm on the moon.
It's a testament to the professionalism of NASA astronauts that they don't broadcast that stuff. Because I feel like someone in the history of the space program has to have been off the radio just fuck yeah, dude, we're in space. Fuck yeah.
Woo!
This is awesome. We're fucking astronauts, man.
This is the shit, man.
We're in space.
Fuck yeah.
Someone has to have done. How can you not do that? I would totally do that.
Yeah. Dude, I just took a shit in space.
You can say that about literally everything. Everything you do in space, you can end it with I just did blank in space.
and it's cool.
It's cool. It'll never get annoying because it's so fucking bonkers that you're in space.
Oh man, who farted in space?
Seriously though, it's really really bad. I think you might have shit your pants.
You might have rectal cancer.
You gotta go. When we get back to Earth, you gotta get that checked out, my dude.
Yeah, you might have to leave that on the moon.
I wonder if they deposited any, if they threw out any shit onto the moon.
I feel like they probably did. Although, I mean, everything had to be very carefully weighed. I mean, extremely careful. Everything.
I suppose, they probably kept that with them or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's possible. I just think it'd be funny if there was a human turd somewhere on the moon. Because it'll still be there.
Well, yeah, it'll be perfectly preserved.
Pretty much. It'll be frozen. It'll probably, like, maybe have turned, I don't know exactly what space would do to poop.
I feel like it would do. I think it would just be a perfectly preserved frozen turd. Or maybe it would sublimate. You would think maybe over time it would. Because it's got mostly water.
And it's got a lot of direct sunlight shining on it, too. Like, there are some chemical processes that I imagine happen to it. It's just, in absence of any sort of bacteria or anything. So,
right. So it's not going to decay, but...
Yeah, but something's going to happen to it. Something's going to happen to that poop on the moon. How did we get here? So what's your favorite song on this album?
Man, it's hard to say because it's such a variance of different stuff on here.
Oh, God, yeah.
Like, Which Side on You're On is the catchiest song on here.
Which side are you on?
Yeah.
Which side are you on?
But I really did like Black Soot and Red Blood. It was a great song. I
liked all the full-length ones. I like the bluegrass ones, too.
Oh, yeah.
I think the one that hooked me in most immediately as like, ooh, this my shit, was probably Killing the Giants as They Sleep.
Yeah, that was good because that had that long interview at the beginning.
Yeah. Or no, I think Killing the Giants as They Sleep has one towards the end. There is a like the opening of it kind of comes right at you,
right, with the black metalness,
and then there is a long interview towards the end, and at the end of that, or not, I think it's an interview or a sample,
right?
There's a long sample, and then at the end of the sample,
it
kicks back in again, and actually gets even darker after that sample. And it was the one I listened to where I was like, this is that felt to me the most Panopticon song that did the most things
that you like about Panopticon.
Yeah, that appealed to me most. But God, I loved all of them. I really, really liked all of the songs on here. Yeah, this is, I mean, very much like Falls of Rauros. This is black metal at its most emotional and vulnerable. This is not like warm and hopeful the way that Patterns of Mythology is. This is a more dour, more serious album.
But it has a theme. It has a point.
Yes, it has a message it's trying to send, and like the themes that are on this one specifically, and really a lot of Panopticon's work. There's a lot of environmental themes, and really a lot about workers' rights and kind of like anarchistic type themes, and fighting for your rights and the rights of your neighbor, when you're just trying to make a living, and there are people who benefit from your poverty, and figuring out a way to fight against that. But there is a lot of themes in here about fighting for yourself and for the rights of your neighbor as well. And that's something that I really like. Can you hand me the bottle opener? Thank you. I really like this. I don't think I liked it as much as Autumn Eternal,
right,
or some of the other stuff. I need to give Roads to the North more than a cursory listen. I haven't listened to that one very much. I also have not listened to Revisions of the Past too much, which is his third and fourth full-length album compiled together, and then his first two I have not been able to find anywhere as far as like streaming goes. But I need to give some of the earlier stuff more spins. I hadn't actually listened to Kentucky a whole lot, or I hadn't listened to it very intently before this week, and I ended up liking it more than I did before. So I'm happy about that, because I like to like the bands that I enjoy. I like it when I enjoy a band and I'm a big fan of this band. And I can sit down and listen to any one of their records and be content,
sure,
and happy with my choice. Because there's plenty of bands where it's like, man, I really love this band's one album, but then it's like, that one's kinda, I don't care about that one. But
there's a lot of bands like that.
Yeah, that have just bad albums.
Some of my favorite bands have bad albums.
Yeah, some of the most popular metal band in the world has
some bad albums.
A bunch of bad albums.
They peaked in 1986.
Just don't tell Lars that. That was a good series of glugs.
That was some glugs. Maybe it'll help you burp up.
Maybe. Glug, glug, glug.
Glug, glug.
So what medal are you? What medal are you bestowing upon this album, like Maz Kanata to Chewbacca?
You know, I flip flop because I don't know. I thought maybe it's a silver album because there's a little bit of a novelty to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not something I could listen to a lot.
Okay.
But I want to say gold because all of it has stuck with me. You know, so I don't know. I think I'm going with silver.
Okay. You could call it an electrum, maybe.
An electrum, yeah.
It's an alloy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that, to be honest. I wrote down gold, but it is is not a very high carat gold.
Right.
This is it's not very pure. This gold has been cut with something.
Sure.
This gold has been cut with sawdust.
There you go. You got a burp. Oh, you good boy.
There we go.
Yeah.
Don't you hate that though? When you can feel like you've got a lot of gas in your tummy.
I'm with you.
You just can't burp.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't. I just couldn't burp for a while.
Maybe you have a tumor.
It's possible. It's not a tumor. It's not. But yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. Mm-hmm. I think somewhere between silver and gold, really. But like for me, Autumn Eternal will always, especially if I'm weighing it against like other stuff and other Panopticon albums, I would call it a silver. This is still an extremely important album in his discography, and it's I think an important album for the genre as a whole. Like, especially for the formation of what we can really call American folk metal.
Sure.
Because when you hear the term folk metal,
this is not what you don't think of a black metal thing. You think of
what everyone thinks of is a bunch of dudes in bad Viking costumes. Yeah. Like
any folk metal. Yeah.
Yeah. Any folk metal. You just say folk metal. You think of dudes in bad Viking costumes fighting shitty looking CGI dragons.
Sure.
That is what comes to mind.
Don't get me wrong, I enjoy those bands.
Yeah, that's fine.
I love
that's fine if that's what you're doing, but I think black metal in general, and especially American black metal, has taken the folk aspect of that so much more earnestly than the more general genre.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, Alex Trebek. But has taken it so much more earnestly, and like bands like Panopticon have really continued that trend of like what is American music?
Sure.
Strictly, distinctly American music, and that is stuff like bluegrass and Americana. That is one of the like country music in general. Whether you like it or not, that is an American art form, and it is one of the few distinctly American art forms because we're a country of immigrants.
Although some of the best country artists are Australian, and Canadian,
or at least most popular country artists are Australian. And Canadian's fine because it's like country music is you say American, but you could say North American. You might as well say North American.
Yeah, like some of that Mexican country music.
I suppose. I mean that they're around.
Sure. Mariachi bands. That's Mexican country music.
You could call it Mexican country. Sure. If it's got finger picked classical guitar.
Sure. Oh my God, I'm on a subway, and oh shit, is a mariachi band about to start? Get me off of this train!
This is the loudest sound in the world. But I don't remember where we were before we got scared that we weren't recording.
We were just talking to each other.
Yeah,
which is fine.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. I think I was still talking about country being such an American American art form, and if you're going to make American folk metal, that's kind of what you have to draw from, because that is a cultural history that is entirely ours and is not necessarily so heavily influenced by where you came from before your family or your ancestors came to this continent. And that's the sort of thing that I appreciate a lot. And it's part of the reason why I like bands like this and bands like Falls of Raros and Wolves in the Throne Room, because I'm a patriot.
You're a real American.
You
bleed red, white, and blue.
I am a real American. Fight for the rights of every man. America, fuck yeah!
You know who did that? I'm a real American.
Who?
That's
apparently you don't know either.
Oh God, I'm blanking it. It's the guy who fuck, I'll remember it.
The guy with the face who did the stuff.
Who did the stuff?
I know that guy.
That guy with the stuff who did the thing.
I know that guy. He's my best friend. I just don't remember his name right now.
It was a wrestling thing, right? I am a real.
Is that Honky Tonk Man?
No, Hulk. Hulk
Hogan.
Yeah. I feel
but
like
you still can't remember who the singer was.
I'm still. It's still. He was in a band of the '60s, and then he did a big song that he was famous for, and I'm fucking losing it.
It's okay.
I'll remember after the podcast.
I'm sure you will.
Mm-hmm.
Or tonight, some point you're going to text.
Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo. He did that song.
Hey Google.
Who did the song Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo?
Oh wait, Google's not.
Hey Siri, who did Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo?
I couldn't find did Rock and Roll.
You can't say hoochie? What the
She can't say coochie, probably.
Well, hoochie.
Because coochie is a vagina.
Rick Derringer.
Okay. Rick Derringer.
Rick Derringer did that song. God, why was that so hard? It shouldn't have been. I run a classic rock show.
I can't tell you.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you why that would be so hard.
Anyway.
Yeah. So I guess that's this week.
Yeah. And we're still in black metal January next week.
Yeah, I suppose we are. We're gonna do. We'll do a fifth one, I suppose.
Yeah, sure.
See how our upload limit likes it, but fuck that shit.
Fuck that shit.
I think I was trying to figure out how to get us onto Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it worked.
Okay.
I just looked for us there and I couldn't find it. So I'm trying to figure out how to get that to work because Libsyn has options for it.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, since we're ramping down towards the end here. So if you like this sort of thing, check out our online presence.
Mention what we should do next week.
Oh yeah, what are we doing next week? Since we
have another black metal.
We have an extra week that we don't normally have.
Sure. It's an album called Vis Lyset tar us.
Okay.
It's from 1994. It's a 4-song album.
Four songs.
4 songs, but
how long are these songs?
They're very long. It's a 45-minute album.
Okay.
It's by is one dude, a Frenchman, wrote and recorded most of the songs.
I believe his name might be Louis Cachet.
Yes, it is. It's that guy.
Okay, so we're doing Burzum.
We're doing a Burzum album.
We're doing a Burzum. Okay, there's a lot of meat on them bones for discussion. So
yes, indeed.
You just bringing the confrontational stuff this year, aren't you?
I am.
You're really going after the.
It's black metal. I mean, there's
we haven't talked about Burzum yet directly, right. So we have to at some point, right?
Sure.
We got to talk about where it all came from. I actually haven't bothered to ever listen to Burzum.
You know what? I listened to this album and there's not a whole lot of vocals on it.
Yeah.
It's a lot of very. It's almost like it's almost like trance black metal.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, and I know there's was his first one, was that Dunkelheit or whatever?
His first one was self-titled. It was Burzum.
Oh, it was just Burzum. Okay.
And this is I think the second one.
The next one. The year he got thrown in prison.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, we'll talk about that next week then, I suppose.
All right.
Until then, check out our various online presences. We have a Facebook page, we have a Twitter page, and we're on Libsyn, and we're on iTunes,
maybe Spotify.
And I'm trying to figure out how to get Spotify to work. I set it up, and it has RSS stuff, but I don't know if it is actually there yet. I'm trying to figure it out at the moment. In any case, until next week, Thanks for listening to another episode of the Bronze Medalist Podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
Congratulations!